Hey you guys, welcome back to Tomes of Terror. Yep, we're doing another book review. I've been reading a lot of books lately. I guess that's a good thing. So, a while back, I don't remember how long ago it was, I reviewed a 2014 novel, which was called Suffer the Children by Craig DiLouie. And I actually liked it a lot. I thought it was phenomenal. Like I said, I don't even remember how long ago the review was, but go back and watch it if you're interested. So, when his 2023 book, which is called Episode 13, popped up in my Kindle Unlimited suggestions, I thought I would have a gander at it. I mean, the cover looks kind of cool. I just read like a one sentence like synopsis of it, and I'm like, that sounds kind of intriguing. And I like this author, so I'm just going to dive right in and see what this is all about. So, Episode 13 is actually a found footage novel. In other words, it's kind of presented as, like a epistolary style, like Dracula or something like that. But in a more modern context, it's sort of like modeled after one of those found footage movies that's centered around a paranormal investigation. Like, it reminded me a lot of like the Grave Encounters movie, but in like book form, if that makes any sense. So the whole narrative is just laid out as a series of like emails, text messages, journal entries, and I think like the large bulk of it is just like descriptions of video footage, which it's implied was found in this house like after the incidents of the novel occurred. So it's, very, very technically a found footage. Now, kind of feel like this format, it's pretty successful in my opinion, and I think it serves the story really well, and it keeps things moving along at like a really good pace, and also ensures that we get to spend about an equal amount of time with all the characters, and because each of the sections is from like their point of view, like their journal entries and stuff, you kind of get and you also get like an objective point of view, like the descriptions of the videos, so you kind of get to see them from the inside and the outside, which I thought was like a really cool like aspect of the story. Now, I will say the ending goes kind of far out there into almost, I don't even know what I'd call it, maybe like transcendentalist or like even maybe like cosmic horror kind of territory. And I admit, though, I kind of dug that. I really wasn't expecting the book to go the way it did. And I always have, like, a lot of respect for an author who's, like, willing to take kind of a tried and true sort of genre story, like, the way this starts out, and go somewhere different with it. And I think it was largely successful in this regard. I did, however, notice that a few reviewers complained that the ending strayed into what they called science fiction. I don't think I would call it science fiction. I guess I can see why people do, but I wouldn't call it that. I might call it speculative fiction. Like I said, I might call it cosmic horror. It was kind of vaguely along the lines of House of Leaves, if that gives you any indication. So I'm just saying, so maybe know going in that it's going to go that way, because it does go a bit, I don't even know if I'd go so far as to call it cross genre, but it does kind of like, go in a different direction, like toward the end, so you won't be completely blindsided by that. I mean, like I said, I really dug that direction, but apparently some people did not, so I'm just, telling you right out of the gate. So, again, as in most of my reviews, I'm not going to spoil the whole book, but I am going to discuss a few plot points that you might not want to know ahead of time before you read the book, so consider this your one and only spoiler warning. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil the whole ending or anything like that, but I am going to like say some stuff that happens in the book that you might not want to know before you read it. So just telling you ahead of time. So here's the setup. There's this gang of paranormal investigators. Not a gang. You know what I mean? Like the fucking Bloods, Crips and Bloods or something of paranormal investigators. No, it's just like a group of paranormal investigators. Now they have like what is, considered to be like a fairly successful TV show, which is called Fade to Black. And it's nearing the end of its first season, and it's still kind of in limbo as to whether it's going to get renewed, like for a second season. So the team is 5 people. So you have like the main investigator, whose name is Matt, and he got into paranormal stuff. He actually communicated with a little spirit girl named Tammy when he was a child. And I think he didn't realize it was a ghost at first, but then like after he did, like, gave his mom a message and all this other kind of stuff. So he's been like really passionate about trying to prove the existence of ghosts like ever since then. So this is like his life's work, you know what I mean? So the second member of the team is his wife, and also co-host, whose name is Claire. And she's kind of this big, like, mathematical physics genius, and she's also a skeptic. Now, so she's the one that monitors, like, all the team's ghost hunting equipment, and she's kind of, like, acting as the show's resident debunker, you know what I mean? And they're kind of saying that, you know, she's this presence on the show that a lot of the other ghost hunting shows don't have, you know what I mean? Because she absolutely doesn't believe any of this stuff is real. Then you have a former cop who is also like a paranormal true believer. His name is Kevin, and he's kind of like an expert ghost hunter. He's been doing this like ever since he retired from the force, and he got into paranormal stuff because one time when he was still a cop, he was on a domestic violence call, and he is absolutely convinced that he encountered a demonic entity. You know what I mean? So he's basically made that his life's work also. Then you have the cameraman, whose name is Jake. He's, you know, kind of a friendly, laid-back guy, but he's mostly just in it for the paycheck. He didn't give a crap one way or the other. And Jessica, which is actually not her real name, like they kind of say what her real name is later on, but that's her stage name. And she's just like an actress, and she just got hired, you know, because she's pretty, and also because she's, you know, really good at engaging with the audience, and the audience really like her and stuff like that. And again, she doesn't really seem to feel one way or the other about the paranormal stuff, at least initially, like at the beginning of the story. So for the season 1 finale, the team managed to get access to what's been called like the paranormal holy grail. They're going to be allowed to do an investigation of this place called Foundation House, which was this kind of facility which was run by the Paranormal Research Foundation, the PRF, back in the early 1970s. Now, all the scientists that worked there and conducted experiments back then mysteriously disappeared. Nobody knows where they are, like nobody found bodies or anything like that. And ever since then, there have been all these rumors about all the weird shit that they were up to, like, at this place. But it seems like nobody alive seems to know, like, all the details of what exactly they were doing in there. Now, it turns out that the experimenters were all really into what they used to call the human potential movement. So they're kind of like using everything in their arsenals, like mind-altering drugs, meditation, hypnosis, religious mantras of all different religions, just general kind of consciousness expanding stuff, you know what I mean? Kind of like, you know, sensory deprivation, all that kind of stuff. And they're doing all of this and throwing it all at the wall, trying to essentially like connect with the other side and prove that paranormal stuff is real. So even though there's all these rumors about this place being haunted, nobody really knew if they succeeded or not, obviously, because everyone disappeared. But Foundation House still has this reputation of being like the Mount Everest of ghost hunting shows, like ever since then, even though nobody has really been allowed to officially document it until now. Like they're allowing the Fade to Black people to go there because they're going to tear it down and turn it into a resort or something. So they're like, why not? You know, just go in there and we'll make some money off it. So the Fade to Black gang, they pack up all their gear, and they get ready and they're going to go stay at the place for several days. They're not actually sleeping in there. They have like a big camper, but they're going to, you know, stay in there overnight and like document everything. And they're kind of hoping that they're going to get like enough really like mind-blowing footage to ensure that the show is going to be renewed for a second season. However, for the first couple of days, it seems like the whole trip is just going to be a giant waste of time. Because, I mean, even though they all go in, and Matt, Kevin, and I think even Jessica are like really excited at first because when they first went in, they're like, oh my God, the place feels alive. Like we're going to get all sort of like awesome footage in here because they could all feel it. You know what I mean? But as time goes on, like as the first couple of days go on, like pretty much fuck all happens. Like nothing happens. And even the kind of more sensitive members of the team are kind of conceding. It's like, well, the house now seems like completely dead. It's like nothing. They feel nothing, even though like it was really, really active like when they first came in. So they're just like, holy shit, we're gonna be here all this time and absolutely nothing is gonna happen. And as if all of that isn't bad enough, Claire has actually been secretly considering leaving the show. Now, her and her husband Matt are very much in love still. They just adore each other. And the show is very much their baby. It was their idea. But she's kind of getting tired of being like the token debunker. And she's kind of feeling like being on this sort of silly ghost hunting show is sort of holding her back from her greater scientific ambitions. Like, because she has a PhD and she was like this up and coming kind of rising star in science. And she's kind of now on this ghost hunting show. And she kind of feels like you know, like it's not really doing much for her career prospects. Now, she hasn't told Matt about her decision, though. She's kind of waiting for the right time to break the news to him gently, I guess. It should be noted, too, that Matt has also not told the rest of the crew that the producers of the show or the network or whatever is not real certain that they're going to be renewing the series. So as everybody is trying to deal with their own shit and also trying to deal with their disappointment over absolutely no activity taking place at this supposedly super haunted location, a definite manifestation occurs that gets them all pumped up again. Like several objects seemingly move by themselves in a room that's been sealed off. Now, conveniently, the cameras that were trained on said objects had their batteries die before any footage could be taken of it. But the whole crew sees the aftermath, and they're just like, there's no way that the movement of these objects could have been faked because of the way that the objects are moved, and nobody was in there. It was all sealed off and blah, blah, blah. It turns out, though, that there absolutely was a way that it could have been faked. But it also turns out that that doesn't even matter, because shortly after uncovering the whole deception, very, very obvious supernatural phenomena goes absolutely apeshit, like all over the place. Like it all just busts out all at once. And it's so like drastic and so unquestionably supernatural that it scares the absolute shit out of everybody on the team, and they just end up running from the house in terror. Now, after a while, they do actually kind of go somewhere. They get their shit together and regroup. And they're like, we really have to go back to Foundation House to finish what they started. Because they did get footage of the crazy shit going on. They're like, oh my God, this is going to blow the fucking doors off. You know what I mean? Because we've just proved, like, ghosts are real. Paranormal shit is real. Now, particularly keen to go back, interestingly, is Claire, who, you know, she was a skeptic, obviously, but she now realizes that all of this shit is real. And she's kind of, like, really, really head up to, like, make perhaps the greatest scientific discovery in human history. Like, she is really excited about this. So, and like single-minded and obsessive about it too, because that's like what her personality is like. So after they go back to the house, things start to get a little bit bizarre, a little bit surreal. And it appears that the scientists from back in the 70s were kind of onto something in regards to contacting the spirit world. Matter of fact, they stumbled on something so staggeringly vast that the human mind can't really conceive of it. Now, I won't spoil exactly what happens at the end, like I said, but right here is kind of where the comparisons to House of Leaves start to become relevant. So if you liked that, like the kind of way that that was going, then you might like this as well, because the ending goes in a similar kind of direction. So yeah, I had a great time with this book. At first, I kind of thought, you know, the found footage epistolary format was gonna get on my nerves or take me out of the story or something like that, but it really didn't. Like, it was so well done and like really kind of seamlessly integrated into the narrative, and I didn't even really notice it after a while. Like, each chapter says at the head, like, what this is. Like, you know what I mean? This is a description of a video taken from this day and this time or whatever, and then you just read it. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. And honestly, like, after a while, it really started to play in my head exactly the way a found footage movie would. So for that reason, this would probably be a really easy film adaptation to make, because it's kind of already laid out like a movie. And I would absolutely like to see this made into a film. I think it might be really good. So yeah, so this does start out like a standard paranormal investigation type story, but it does go in some pretty wild directions, like I said. So if you want to kind of stick with something more traditional, like a traditional ghost story, you might not be a fan of kind of the pathways as it goes toward the end. Like I said, I don't want to oversell it too much, but it does get a little bit crazy. I thought the way that it went was like real original and real compelling, but I can totally understand if that's not really what you want as well. You know what I mean? So I'm just telling you that ahead of time. I will note also that the first part of the book, it's a little bit of a slow burn. I don't want to, like, again, oversell that, but, you know, because I didn't really find it that slow. But, you know, we're just kind of establishing the relationships between the characters, and nothing supernatural really happens for quite a while, which, you know, kind of spurs a lot of conflict and stuff. But honestly, I found the characters, like, pretty likable, and at least they were interesting enough to, like, hang out with for a while before, you know, all the ghost shit started hitting the fan, you know what I mean? So I do wish there'd been a little bit more explanation concerning the experiments from the 70s, like what exactly they were doing. But on the other hand, I think it was maybe best to leave things ambiguous so you could just kind of like leave it to your imagination, you know? But yeah, like overall, this was like a really fast, really fun read. You know, it just kind of starts out as a standard, like a Grave Encounters type of thing, like but in book form. But then it gets kind of reality warping toward the end, which I thought was kind of neat. So yeah, I'd recommend this to if you're into found footage horror movies, if you like ghost hunting shows, if you liked House of Leaves, you know, or any kind of that weird surrealist kind of cosmic horror type of thing, then you might kind of dig this. Now, I will say that I think I still slightly preferred Craig DeLue's other book that I read, Suffer the Children, but this one was great too, but just like in a completely different way from that one. So that will do it for this Tomes of Terror. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, like, share, comment, subscribe, and all of that good stuff, and I will see you again on the next one. Bye.